Are we gonna conduct this or not?
Huh?
Are you gonna share this or not? No, we gonna continue with the meeting.
Mean they can come over yet.
That's what I asked you. Are you gonna share it or not?
Yeah, what? I'll step out in the hallway if anything happens, I'll let everybody. They work.
I don't want number 10 in here, I'm sorry to get 10 in here. If they need to be in here, they want him in here, they sure enough, we don't need no law anyway, I hope.
No, we're not supposed to be here, but there it is.
If they stand outside the door, they come to them, that way we'll
No,
not.
I'm sitting in here.
But,
I can join you.
two before we get started, any meeting from today forward, no public will not be allowed to be in here. We will do a live video, and that even includes your monthly court meeting. And this was recommended to me yesterday, I guess, not to have public, no foot transportation will be in the courthouse. And that's why I asked to let you in. You said the water department did, but nobody else started doing it.
No, I said I was with the water department.
But
I'll get a confirmation on that from County Attorney's Association and Attorney General's office on what their recommendation is.
But we will get started when we call this meeting to order. Before we get started, I want everybody to stand. I'll lead a word of prayer when we do pledge allegiance. Dear Heavenly Father, again, we thank you for another day, dear Lord. Just thank you for life itself. Just thank you for our families. Dear Lord, we just pray for this awful virus that's going through the whole world, spreading like wildfire. Dear Lord, we just pray that you would just take control, dear Lord, and just give the doctors and people means to control this thing and bring it under control. And just we don't know where it's going, but you do. And we just ask you to be with us, be with the president, be with the governor, be with all of us as leaders. To help us to protect human life itself and make decisions that will benefit everyone. So we just ask this in your name. Amen. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Let me ask one question. If we were to conduct these meetings live going forward, who's the person that runs the fiscal court Facebook page?
Calvin's been on it, but I think
If we conduct it live, that's what it would need to be on, not anything.
yeah.
I don't have access to that. So, just to let you know, I mean.
And I don't know that we will. If we don't, we just bring the camera up, set it up like it is, and but.
Cal's video.
But two, one calling this meeting to order and agenda, I ain't got a clue what your all's items is, and I don't know that this meeting is even necessary. Because on October, well, I had to wake up on March the 16th, Monday morning, I had signed a declaration of local state emergency that's been filed with the state. And what it says, whereas the COVID-19 virus has started and affected individuals in Breathitt County, Kentucky. And whereas the COVID-19 is a respiratory disease that can result in serious illness and death and can easily spread from person to person. As of March 6, 2020, the governor of Commonwealth of Kentucky, Andy Beshear, declared a state of emergency in the Commonwealth of Kentucky due to a confirmed case of COVID-19. And whereas COVID-19 created considerable hardship for the citizens of Breathitt County. Whereas the planning and preparation of the state and local agency for COVID-19 public health emergency in Breathitt County is concerned to all citizens. Wherein it is both appropriated and desirable and coordinated with federal and state and local agencies to attend maximum effective response to the circumstances described herein. Now therefore, I, Jeff Nolan, Judge Executive, Breathitt County, to authorize investment me in chapter 39A, 1.100, 2 of the Kentucky Revised Statute does declare state of emergency exists in Breathitt County from the period of March 16, 2020, and continues in the direct of that. The local emergency operation plan shall be fully executed. The emergency management director shall direct emergency service to provide assistance and can deliver from available local resources, shall coordinate all agencies of local government to provide assistance to Breathitt County. And all departments and agencies in Breathitt County, including interlocal government agencies, shall coordinate and cooperate to, skip one, I think. Local government to provide assistance to Breathitt County. All departments and agencies in Breathitt County, including interlocal government agencies, shall coordinate and cooperate to the fullest extent possible with emergency management. The Breathitt County Health Department, the Commonwealth of Kentucky, and any federal agency shall provide such assistance and may require for full response to this emergency. Under the state emergency as provided in KRS 39A 100, quotation 2, the executive judge can waive procedures of formatting other required by law pertaining to all performance of public work. Enter into contracts, recurring obligation, employment of permanent and temporary workers, utilization of volunteer workers, rental of equipment, appropriation, and expenditure of public funds. Wherefore, this declaration of local emergency in Breathitt County shall remain in effect until terminated by issues of another executive order which determines the state of emergency no longer exists, and exercise of extraordinary measures no longer required for the protection of public health and safety and welfare. And that was signed on March 16, 2020. Did you get a copy of all the answers or anything on that? Did we do that? So really, I don't think, I went over and asked Brandon, and he wasn't clear on it either. Y'all got on here, physical court order declaring a state of emergency. Did y'all not know we'd already declared a state of emergency?
We did.
You did?
Judge, since we talked this morning, the fiscal court has a separate statute that they can declare an emergency by. So I
Okay.
assume, that is, and they prepared one here, and I assume that can happen and will happen based upon the vote taken.
Okay.
And they can pass an ordinance applying to, and that's by separate statute. Now, the question is, how section 67078 subsection 2 and 39A offset each other. And that's going to be the question, and before I came over here, I called the Attorney General's office and put it before their attorneys, and they're supposed to call me back.
Okay, I just had a call before I came in here, and they wanted a copy of this too.
So that,
Attorney General's
I
office.
assume, so I kind of anticipated, I hadn't seen any ordinance or anything that you guys, I'm reading it now as we go. So I assume that will be you'll see that too, get determination from the AG's office.
Okay. We call this emergency meeting, like I said, this pandemic virus, and as part of the public notice, it says pursuant to the emergency declarations of the President, the Governor, and the Judge Executive in relation to the COVID-19 pandemic, the Breathitt County Fiscal Court deems it necessary to meet an emergency session to consider the approval of necessary actions in order to effectively address the potential threats to health and public safety that this pandemic presents to the county and its citizens. Pursuant to KRS 61.823, subsection 5, a 24-hour notice is not required for emergency meetings. Instead, only a reasonable effort under emergency circumstances to notify the members of the agency, media organizations, which have filed a written request, and the public is required. And also, part of this agenda, pursuant to the emergency declaration of the President, Governor, and Judge Executive in relation to the COVID-19 pandemic, fiscal court deems it necessary to meet in this emergency session to consider approval necessary action in order to effectively address potential threats to health and public safety that the pandemic presents to the county and citizens. And item C on the agenda was consideration of approval of fiscal court declaring a state of emergency pursuant to KRS 67.078, and it states as follows. Order of the fiscal court. Pursuant to global and national effects of the coronavirus disease 2019, COVID-19 virus, and the subsequent declaration of emergency issued by President Donald J. Trump and Governor Andy Beshear, the Breathitt County Fiscal Court does hereby recognize and acknowledge the potential threat of loss of life and liberty to the COVID-19 presents to the county and its citizens. Consequently, in addition to the declaration of emergency issued by the Breathitt Judge Executive on Monday, March 16, 2020, in response to the COVID-19, the Breathitt County Fiscal Court recognized the potential need for both supplemental resources and the latitude to use extensive legislative authority in order to address the challenges that undoubtedly lie ahead. Therefore, pursuant to authority granted to the Breathitt County Fiscal Court under provisions of KRS 67.078, it is hereby ordered that the state of emergency hereby at Breathitt County on this 17th day of March 2020 and continue until rescinded by the Breathitt County Fiscal Court. Additionally, pursuant to KRS 67.078, paragraph 2, the Breathitt County Fiscal Court does hereby reserve the right to adopt and enact ordinances for the purpose of addressing the state of emergency. Under the mandate of statute and all general requirements as described in KRS 67077 are hereby waived. Under passage, the fiscal court clerk is hereby ordered to file this order and any resulting ordinance in the office of the Breathitt County Fiscal Court without delay. I'll make that motion.
Donnie, you said the 17th.
Okay,
That's the 18th.
okay, another thing, I don't think I'm gonna recognize this, motion until the general, rules on this. I was told when,
Well, they won't be issuing a rule, and they'll be just seeking, we're just seeking advice of how these two statutes interplay in. You know, according to the information, Judge, you requested a copy of this memorandum, so I'll give it to you, is that, you know, most of the requirements under 39B speak of the county, which means the fiscal courts is just the judge, yourself, and there are certain things that are listed under that, they're empowered to do, so. What I need is a copy of your declaration, and then if whatever happens in this meeting, whatever's passed, I'll pass it all on and let them tell us what to do.
so again, before I even, accept the motion, explain that, Donnie, again, what this actually does different than what we've already filed without going through and kind of read all that again. If you lost me when you started to through.
Just read it to you.
What is, again, here we are, it's a state emergency, and matter of fact, I think after a day, the courthouse will be closed completely up. Only want to be allowed to be some employees, and just minimum, statute according to what the governor wants to do. And I'm also hearing that Trump has got a bill in on his desk that, and I'm not doing this to alarm anybody, but, looks like every household is gonna be under a 14-day quarantine if we sign this. And my main concern is hope and pray we don't even lose another life, with this thing, but I'm afraid, that may not be the case, but, I'm gonna minimize our crew, of workers and just respond to emergencies, trees down, roads that people can't get in. My main concern is just wanna keep it where people can actually get in and out in emergencies only. Yesterday, I took it on, we got some, and then I'm almost in the category two, we got some elderly and, they're more vulnerable than anybody, and, some health issues in the county, and I just want to address all of them. But again, I don't want to go through here, go through a meeting and have to do this and do that before we can make a decision on,
We got a motion on the floor,
what's
Judge.
the purpose of it.
The 39A sets out specific things that can be done, that there's not gonna be any difference here, any conflict between, okay? And those are basically to enforce all laws and administrative regulations relating to disaster and emergency response, to exclude all non-essential, unauthorized, disruptive, or uncooperative personnel from the scene of an emergency,
Okay.
to declare curfews and establish their limits, to order immediate purchase or rental contract for or otherwise procure without the procurement codes or budget requirements the goods, services, essential protection of the public agency, of the public health and safety, to request emergency assistance from any local government, okay? 36B basically states that you have to go do it with agreement of, it says the council, not the county judge, okay? So that's the performance of public work, entering into contracts, the incurring of obligations, employment of permanent and temporary workers, the utilization of volunteer workers, the employment of the rental of equipment, appropriation and expenditure of public funds. You know, so there is gonna be some conflict in between those and what we have here. And just keep in mind, the administrative code does basically stay in effect, you know, so as far as with employees and things along those lines, so if there's gonna be layoffs, suspensions, things along those lines, then you have to do it pursuant to the administrative code. I mean, the emergency, you can argue, does away with that you can make those calls in emergency. And I would basically go through that procedure as well when you do.
And again, if this puts the physical cord in making these decisions, it won't work. If it does that, I'm not even gonna recognize the motion. I mean, I don't know what.
He just read the law, the 39B, or if he was listening to the county attorney, just read the law, based on this
I heard
order.
him, and I know the law on 39A.
I said 39B.
I thought he said that, it brings the court in on making decisions of doing this stuff. Did you not read that? Did I not understand our county attorney?
We got it.
It's pretty not big, I mean, it says, and this is coming straight from the Attorney General, is that basically 39B statute says it includes the county.
And you also stated, according to the administrative code, the rules is the same, correct?
Unless,
And the statute.
well, and I don't want to go too far on that without stating what effect the emergency declaration has on that. Okay?
Right.
I mean, I don't want to overstate that. But, you know, it's one of these things that if you're gonna lay people off or suspend and all this sort of stuff, it needs to be pursuant to the fiscal court. I mean, basically, just to make sure you comply with that. If that makes sense.
I'm gonna second that motion.
So we got a motion, and a second on the floor.
I'm not gonna honor the motion. It's not been recognized, and,
We can take a vote and overrule your motion, overrule your decision, if you want us to do that.
But if this, I don't see where you're saying 39B, I don't see where 39B is on
You
the
just read it to
agenda.
me.
On the agenda. Is that the 67?
No, I'm just summarizing the memo for you, Judge.
Okay.
I mean, that's what I just gave you.
How about the 67-078? I mean, does that interfere with
That
the
says
county
that-
judge, running the county during emergency?
That's what I've asked the Attorney General to tell us.
Right here it states,
You don't have an
67-078.
opinion on it yet?
Well, no, I just found out about this at 12:45.
Well, I did too.
Well, it said-
At 12:55, I believe, I called and said, I can foresee what's coming.
Yeah.
That there's gonna be a conflict between this county statute and the 39A, so I wanted to know what.
He asked about KRS 67-078. It says quorum majority of the fiscal court required
You've
to pass
already read that,
ordinance.
that's the county attorney, but if it's that, I'm not recognizing the motion, if it's
We just
gonna,
overrule you.
if it's gonna overrule
Decision.
with, the emergency that's been filed in Frankfurt, on Monday, you can't come in here and file something 2 or 3 days
We're
later.
going according to the statute, Judge. You just read the statute to you.
Again, what changes will it make if, even that was in there? I mean, what's the deal, Donnie?
KRS 67078, paragraph 2, the majority of the fiscal court may declare an emergency to exist by naming described emergency and therefore after adopt a county ordinance to address the emergency without regard to requirements of KRS 67077.
Again,
You gonna take your vote or not? We
I'm
don't, we just take a vote to overrule it.
not recognizing it. You all make a, you can vote if you choose to, but I'm not recognizing the motion.
We got a motion on the floor, we got a second. How about it, County Attorney?
I didn't
Motion
recognize it.
second, judge says he's not gonna recognize us, so you guys do what you're gonna do, we'll end up where we end up.
All in favor?
Public meeting.
Aye. Aye. All
Well,
opposed? Is that a no? You vote, how you vote? You vote?
I'm not recognizing it. I'm not getting involved in it. Okay, D, consideration of emergency approval.
Motion carried.
202-0318-1 pursuant to ARS 67.78, comma 2.
That's ordinance,
Let me see if I've got that.
ordinance number 202.
I didn't ask you to read that.
00318-1.
That's it, Ronnie. That's it, only yours. And it says here, it says you all got an ordinance together, a physical court declaring state emergency in the county responding coronavirus disease 2019, COVID-19 pandemic. Recites whereas of March 11th, we're organized, COVID, is that the same thing I read?
That's it.
Has affected 118,000 people across 114 claiming nearly 4,300 lives worldwide, and we're in response to pandemic and potential threat. The president of the county judge executive issued declared emergency for Breathitt County on the 16th day. And again, I'm not gonna recognize that motion either. I've got things to do that are more important. I've got a conference call coming in 3 minutes that I'm gonna take.
Why are you here if you're not even gonna, recognize anything's done in this meeting? Because by statute, we call
Make, what's the next thing on it?
You gotta read the ordinance
Accept
first.
motion to adjourn the meeting. Donnie Bush.
No.
Roy Darrell.
Aye.
Ray Moore.
No.
Bill Stinker.
No.
Meeting's over, things to do. Ain't got time to adjourn. Again, y'all need to be more concerned about, this epidemic instead of worrying about trying to make decisions.
You need to do your job, maybe we don't have to.
I'm gonna make a motion, Donna finishes with this meeting since the judge walked out.
Chair, meeting
Second.
Second, oh, I'm sorry.
Your second?
Yeah. All in favor?
hold on now, I think you need to clarify for the record what you did. This is a vote to, now that there's still a quorum present, and there's, and you're electing a new chair, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
So, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Ayes have it, motion carried. Item D on the agenda, it says consideration of emergency approval of an ordinance number 202-00318-1 pursuant to KRS 67078, subsection 2. Could you read it, Chris?
On this page,
Yeah, ordinance. Right.
whereas on Wednesday, March 11, 2020, the World Health Organization declared the COVID-19 outbreak a pandemic, a tragic disease that has affected 118,000 people across 114 countries, claiming nearly 4,300 lives worldwide. And whereas in response to this pandemic, and the potential threat it presents to the county judge executive issued a declaration of emergency for Breathitt County on the 16th day of March 2020. And whereas due to considerable physical flexibility, that an emergency declaration extends to the county judge executive without oversight or approval of independent entity. And whereas on Monday, March 16th, 2020, the county judge executive was charged with abuse of public trust, a felony offense, and a theft-related charge, both for the third time in a period of 7 months. And whereas it is the primary duty of the Breathitt County Fiscal Court to regulate and protect the fiscal affairs of the county. And whereas it is the opinion and wholehearted belief of this fiscal court that relinquishing unilateral control of the county treasurer to this particular Breathitt County judge executive with no available checks and balances places the citizens' tax dollars at tremendous risk and would be a tragic injustice to our constituents. And now therefore be it ordained by the Breathitt County Fiscal Court that effective March 18, 2020, pursuant to the provisions of KRS 67078, subsections 2 and 3, it is hereby declared that the state of emergency does exist in Breathitt County. And be it further ordained that in order to ensure the essential needs of our most vulnerable citizens are consistently met, while at the same time protecting the integrity of the county treasurer, the following actions and measures shall be implemented immediately. 1, with exceptions as defined in sections 2, 3, and 4 below, in order to properly ensure the health, welfare, and safety of our employees, all county operations shall be suspended effective immediately upon the passage of this ordinance. 2, the Office of Emergency Management and Director shall continue to remain open, and the Emergency Management Director shall, on behalf of the county, continue to coordinate with the appropriate agency heads throughout the county to ensure a sufficient and effective response to any challenges that COVID-19 may present. Should, in the opinion of the Emergency Management Director, the need for disaster-related expenditure of county funds arise, he shall communicate that recommendation to all members of the fiscal court individually. The fiscal court shall then take that recommendation into consideration for approval at the earliest possible opportunity. The offices of the jailer and coroner shall continue to remain open. Deputies of each respective office shall continue to work hours authorized and approved by their respective constitutional officers. 4, this ordinance shall not apply to those field offices or employees thereof that fall outside the direct jurisdiction of the Breathitt County Fiscal Court, which are the offices of the sheriff, county clerk, and county attorney. 5, all other employees of the Breathitt County Fiscal Court, regardless of whom they are supervised by, are temporarily relieved of their respective duties, effective immediately. However, all affected employees shall continue to be paid at the regular rates of pay at a traditional 40-hour per calendar week until normal operations resume. No employees shall be required to utilize any vacation or sick time for the duration of this suspension of services. 6, the county finance officer and county treasurer shall work whatever hours may be necessary to facilitate the processing and payment of payroll fund transfers, payroll deductions and tax payments, utilities, insurance, and all other payroll fringe benefits. These hours worked shall not be counted as overtime nor additional regular hours when calculating payroll liabilities. 7, payroll shall continue to be processed and paid on every other Wednesday as normally scheduled. 8, with the exception of those items listed in item 6 above, the county treasurer shall not issue or co-sign any warrant drawn on an account of the county without express prior approval of the Breathitt County Fiscal Court. Though situations shall be evaluated on a case-by-case basis, it is the intent of this fiscal court that no non-routine expenditure will be approved for any reason other than so outlined in section 2. 9, the county treasurer shall continue to make periodic deposits as necessary in order to ensure that the expenses listed in item 6 are paid timely. 10, until the suspension of services is rescinded by order of the fiscal court, no county vehicle or equipment shall be driven or operated unless so done in accordance with sections 2, 3, or 4, Sheriff's Office only. or otherwise pre-approved by a majority of the fiscal court. 11, it is the desire of the fiscal court that the county sheriff and his deputies use any and all means available to them to forcibly remove any person from a county vehicle or piece of equipment who is found to be operating it for an unauthorized purpose as described in section 10. 12, with the exception of charge accounts for any items, services required by the offices listed in section 3, as well as accounts associated with those expenses listed in item 6. No charge account belonging to the Breathitt County Fiscal Court shall be utilized for any purpose not pre-approved by the fiscal court until the suspension of services is rescinded. 13, all courthouse personnel who normally play a role in preparing, assembling, and/or distributing the agenda packets for the regular monthly fiscal court meetings shall work all hours necessary to complete their respective functions in regard to the regular March 2020 fiscal court meeting scheduled for Tuesday, March 24th. 14, the regular March 2020 fiscal court meeting shall take place as scheduled on Tuesday, March 24th at 10 a.m. in the Breathitt County Fiscal Court. The fiscal court clerk, the law person, and county treasurer shall attend the meeting in their respective capacities as they normally do each month. 15, the suspension of county services shall expire when this declaration of emergency is rescinded by the Breathitt County Fiscal Court through a formal ordinance. 16, pursuant to the authority granted under the provisions of KRS 39A 180, subsection 3, the county sheriff and his sworn deputies are empowered to enforce the provisions of this ordinance effective upon its passage. 17, should a court of competent jurisdiction find any sections of this ordinance to be unconstitutional or unenforceable, all other sections shall remain in full force and effect through the duration of the suspension of services.
It's emergency ordinance number 202-00-318, dash 1. Entertain a motion.
Motion.
Second.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Ayes have it, motion carried. Motion for adjournment.
Well, one question I have for you, Doug, I guess it's for Brendan. Where he left and wasn't here when this was executed, can they vote to appoint one of the three to sign and execute this on court's behalf?
That's what, when they appointed him as the
So
chair of the
he-
meeting, I
all right,
said,
so-
you want to go back, if you have to go back and amend your motion, that's probably be good practice. Do that.
They made a motion for me to chair the meeting.
It is, and the next question is that chair is also sign the ordinance or sign the motions, and from what I understand, you're saying 77 doesn't apply, so this is effective immediately. And it's not, you don't have to have a second reading. And that statute does say that the requirements of 77 are waived. 1677. So what he's asking is that should you amend your prior motion to give you authority to sign the ordinance as passed as well? And yes, I think that should happen.
So, did I hear a motion to amend the recent motion?
Can I ask a question about the ordinance? Brandon, earlier, the judge mentioned the media not being able to attend the meetings while the emergency's enforced.
We'll get clarification on
You know, but can I ask them if they would be willing to add that to their ordinance that the media can attend during this emergency?
that. But you'll have to you'll have to amend it and read it again. If you do that, it's been passed right now as it is, so if you want to add that, it should have been done before you voted on it, but you'll have to not read the whole thing again, but I guess you'd have to take another vote with an amended ordinance now that it's been voted upon to do an amended ordinance at this time.
So you need that motion and then a motion to amend the original one, Donnie, as well.
We'll, entertain a motion to amend the motion D, approve the ordinance 202-00-318, dash 1, to allow, the media to be present in regular meetings. Motion for all court meetings during this emergency.
Motion.
So that should be the new 15 and then move the rest down.
Thank you.
Johnny?
Yeah.
Is it all in one motion to put him as chair, allow him to sign everything in, and
I would have to make a note on that.
You know, sign the document.
You can just amend the header here, the notice of the fiscal court declaring a state of emergency in the county resident sponsored coronavirus 2019 COVID-19 pandemic. I mean, should not read the whole thing, should we?
No, I don't think the whole thing is, so let's say,
Just the
amendment.
true.
The only thing that's being changed, and, you know, I would vote on the, make and put up there, put out front of the -1 amendment. And then you've got, that's, do everything you can for this, so whoever makes the decision on what goes here has got all the relevant information.
So we got a motion on the floor to amend the ordinance to include, the media, in all meetings, subject to this pandemic, correct?
And
If you're just gonna add, that to the bottom, then what I'll need, once you pass it and you sign it, I need a copy of the amended that is passed. Okay.
Okay. So we've got a motion on the floor.
Motion. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Ayes have it, motion carried. Now we need to amend the motion to, the chairperson to be able to sign off on the ordinance, correct?
Motion. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Ayes have it, motion carried. Now we have to have a motion to adjourn the meeting.
I don't want that. Motion.
Second.
Third.
All in favor? Aye. Ayes have it, motion carried.
We're ready.
Make a motion, we, call this meeting back to order.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Item C on the agenda, we got,
We need to.
Yeah.
I need to make him back, I make a motion to let Mr. Donnie Bush, pursue this, chair meeting, be the chair of this meeting,
Continue.
continue. Second. All in favor?
aye.
Aye.
Ayes have it, motion carried. Item C, which is consideration approval of fiscal court order declaring a state of emergency pursuant to KRS 67078. And since the judge was present during the first time that this court approved this, however, he walked out of the meeting, so, I entertain a motion as me as chairman to sign off on this, item C as acting chairman of this meeting. Entertain that motion.
Motion. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Ayes have it, motion carried.
Take care of it, or did we go on that?
That's Mr. Mayor.
If there's no further business to discuss,
Finally adjourned.
so, make a motion to adjourn this meeting.
Motion. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Ayes have it, motion carried.
Good job.